Hi everyone, welcome back for Getting Psyched for Information Literacy. This week we are going to be talking about open access as well as predatory publishing and what that means as far as being a diligent researcher. So first I'd like to talk about what open access is. Open access was the result of the idea that we could spread information and research online in a free and cost-effective way for the consumer. Publications through traditional publishers is very expensive, and luckily through like libraries you aren't directly affected by that cost, but as an individual researcher, if you're not affiliated with a library, to get access to that information, it's very costly. So open access is a tool that helps bridge the gap of costly publications and getting information in the hands of the general public. So on this page, I have open the directory of open access journals. And you might have actually come across this when you're working in Summon or a subject-specific database, where it links you out to a particular journal or article that is available here in the directory. And again, this means that essentially, even if you hadn't been affiliated with the library, you could have had access to the particular article or journal without having to pay for it. So it was the researcher's intention that no one should have had to pay to have access to their particular research. So just because it's freely available doesn't mean that it's not a high quality. As you can see here, I've done a search for psychology journals that have been peer-reviewed. And one of the first ones that came up was Technology, Mind, and Behavior, which is published by the American Psychological Association, APA. And so if I click into this, I get a little bit of information about the journal itself, and I found out that they began publishing open access in 2020. So I could check here to see if they have any articles indexed in this directory, which they don't, but I can link out to their website where I can find their issues that are freely available and have been peer reviewed. So still high quality, and it is free. On the other hand, with the good intentions of OA, of course there are people who are trying to exploit it. And that's what happens with predatory publishing. And this is common on the internet. And that's why it's important to be a diligent researcher, to check and make sure that the articles that you're looking at are legitimate. Look at the authority, check to see who's writing it, check to see about the journal itself and see what kind of process it goes through. Does it go through a peer review process? If it does it fall into any categories that happens to bring up any red flags? And there are some things that I'm going to bring up today in our session that you can check as a researcher to make sure that you're not going to fall victim to a predatory journal. The first thing I'm going to mention is Beale's list. This was a librarian that created a list of journals and publishers that tend to be red flags or they put up a lot of red flags whether or not they are legitimate publishers or legitimate journals. And the way we know that they might be predatory is that a lot of times they're asking the authors to pay money to publish. One thing with academics is that there's often a requirement to publish, and so they know that they can get people who might be really eager to publish, that they're willing to pay. So if they're getting people who are willing to pay, they can do that and push publications through without going through a true peer review process. So if you're ever feeling something might be a little fishy, you're just getting some vibes that there might be misinformation in what you're reading, or just something's off, misspellings, something's not making sense. They're not giving you much evidence in what they're providing. Beale's list is something you can check for clarification or just verification if there's been other people that might have raised red flags about the particular publisher or journal. And from Beale's list, there's another very useful tool, which is the journal evaluation tool. When you open up the journal evaluation tool, it's essentially a rubric, and the rubric talks you through the different points that should be available on the home page of a particular journal. So the more information that is available on a journal homepage, the better. They should tell you about conflicts of interest. They should have a fully competently designed website. They should talk about how often they're publishing and copyright information. If they're not giving you that kind of information, there's a good chance that you're going to fall into something that might be a predatory journal. Of course, that's not to say that every high quality journal is going to have every green mark for it here, but it should fall mostly into the green zone. There shouldn't be any red zones here. That's where the predatory journals are going to fall. So all that being said, the reason that predatory journals exist is that it's an opportunity for these fake journals to make money. They are basically having authors pay to play. It's an opportunity for authors to get published. They don't peer review, or they say they peer review, but then they don't really, and they push things out to publication way faster than they should. And then they put it out there, and it's a mess of potential for misinformation to be spread. So if at any time you come across something that just makes you feel like you might have found a journal that could be predatory, do not hesitate to ask a librarian. Do not hesitate to ask your professor, or reach out to or look at the Beale's list or the journal evaluation tool. They can be very helpful to stop the spread of misinformation and making sure that you have a valuable, good resource that you're looking at. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a good day. Thanks.